AP top 25 is out. And there it is. There it is. And you see the SEC and the Bucks are up there. Oregon. Texas is back again. Did you see Ole Miss got another one? Ole Miss, who I think is absolutely going to the college football playoff. Another SEC team in. Notre Dame, our father. Notre Dame's going to disappoint me. For those of you new to the show, I'm a massive Notre Dame fan.
Notre Dame, our mother.
Yes, I'm losing weight, but still a massive Notre Dame fan. Pedo State, the Cheaters. Oh, look, an ACC team in the top 10. Looks like they're healthy, right? No. Here's my question for you. Did the ACC get hosed in this here top 25? Because my question, and I'm being serious in all seriousness, how does the ACC get any more than one team in the college football playoff? Because you look at Florida State, okay, let's just default that Florida State's going to win the ACC championship. Let's agree on that.
I think we all agree on that, yeah.
They're in. Anybody believing in Clemson?
Oh.
Clemson's 14th. Okay, well, that's Tennessee. Is Tennessee they're not in the ACC. Oklahoma. Nope, they're not in the.
No.
Mike Gundy's DUI attorney, are they in the? They're not in the ACC either. K-State, nope. Ooh, Miami at 19. Miami. So, do you think Clemson, Miami, any chance that one of those teams gets into the top 12? Man, I just can't see it. Not where you are. And if you look at the ACC's plight, right, and you quickly start to understand that if you are not in the top 25 now, it's going to be very difficult. And with 4 teams ranked in the poll, I think you are going to have a real problem finding matchups. Look at Miami's schedule, for instance. Let's just look at Miami, because I think the other thing we can all probably agree on is if you're 20 or below, and really if you're 15 or below, you better have big games on your schedule, right? Like you got
to be able to make a splash.
You better have the ability to say, wow, I beat Florida? Probably not. Florida A&M? Probably not. Ball State, South Florida, Virginia Tech, Cal, Louisville, and then there's one game. October 26th. Florida State goes to SoFlo.
But again, for the ACC's purposes, if Florida State loses that game, they're not in the college football playoff at that point.
And here's my question about Miami. If let's say Miami loses to Florida State, how do they get back up in the poll? You don't. You're dead. You're dead.
Well, that's
okay.
The issue, isn't it?
Well, Marty, don't forget about Clemson, Marty. Okay, let's look at Clemson. So Clemson obviously is in a very precarious situation. They come out of the gates pretty soft with Georgia. They open against Georgia. Now, I know I just do a little talk show here on YouTube. What if Clemson loses to Georgia? I misspoke. When they lose to Georgia, what game gets them back up into the top 20? Because if they lose to Georgia, I think they drop 20 to 25.
But I still think when you lose to a team that is that good, number one team in the country by the polling, you still have the opportunity. If that was the only game you lost.
But do you? When the Big Ten is as deep as the Big Ten is, and you have teams in the Big 12 well-positioned throughout the poll, including Utah and Oak State and K-State and Kansas, who are all elite football teams, you would think, if you lose to Georgia, here's the rest of your schedule. Oh, immediate opportunity to bounce back on the ACC network against Appy State. Okay, here's another interesting conundrum. So you have a 1-1 Clemson team taking on NC State, who is 24th in the AP poll. Okay, so who's playing that game to die? Because whoever loses that game is out of any possible contention for the college football playoff.
Right.
Okay, let's give it to Clemson. So Clemson, then they play Stanford, then they're at Florida State. Dude, it's over. It's over. You're not going to Tallahassee and beating Florida State. Right? Clemson, I don't see any way with this schedule that Clemson makes the college football playoff. I don't see any way. And you look at these rankings.
Yeah, it's over here.
Yeah. So NC State done. Miami has a very, very difficult path. And I think Clemson's a 3-loss team. Florida State is the only ACC team that has a legitimate opportunity to make the college football playoff. And I think that's because they're going to win the ACC championship.
I was going to say, yeah, their only reason they're doing that is because of the auto bid system. So
I think this is a very, very difficult AP top 25 for the ACC.
Well, and I think the problem is when you look at this, this poll, it's like, dude, like even if you were to compare the ACC to like the Big 12 just is a stronger conference on the football field overall.
Well, and Utah's got a very difficult road. I mean, you have very little margin for error. I think we all know that, right? You look at Oak State. I think Oak State is not making the college football playoff. I'm not a buyer. I know it's Alan Bowman, and he's no Preston Stone, but he'll do. I don't see Oak State as a college football playoff team. I think in the Big 12, it's going to come down to how good is Kansas. Because Kansas, you look at Kansas, obviously, there's a couple of games here on their schedule that we're going to find out pretty quick, right? But I think Kansas has an opportunity here to be in the Big 12 championship game. Now, they also have an incredibly difficult start to the season with Lindenwood.
Yay!
Bro, I thought you just said Lindenwood.
That game is in 16 days. 2 weeks from this weekend. We get Rock Chalk Lindenwood. At Illinois, UNLV, at West Virginia.
Stay hard!
TCU, Arizona State. West Virginia is obviously their first opportunity to lose a football game.
Yeah.
Because I love my not fighting Illini and huge face Bielema, but they're KU. I think KU. I think they're going to play for the Big 12 championship. I think they are that good. I'm just stupid old Marty. I get it. TCU at Arizona State, Houston at Kansas State, October 26th. Don't just right now understand that you're busy all day October 26th. That is the best weekend of the college football season. Mark it down. You're busy that day. And that morning you're going to your butcher and you're getting your wings, you're getting your burnt ends, don't be an idiot and eat pizza. It's terrible for you. You're getting your pizza, that's the day where you have like 3 cases of Modelo on ice. All the boys are coming over. You got the Traeger fired up. You're playing golf in the backyard and you're watching football all day long.
This case is empty.
That's it. That's October 26th. You're busy, dude.
Yeah.
Iowa State at BYU, Colorado at Baylor. That's a 1-loss schedule. If KU is as good as I think they are, that's a 1-loss schedule, and I think it might be West Virginia.
Yeah.
I think it might be West Virginia.
To go and play.
And yet, I leave this up here because if that's a 1-loss KU team, they're going to be in the Big 12 championship game. And I think they will have a real opportunity, even if they wind up playing Utah. Kansas has a legitimate opportunity.
Well, I mean, think about what that would look like at the end of the season when we're really talking about, if they're there, if KU's there, and it's like, hey, they're You're undefeated, let's say, headed to the Big 12 championship game, and let's say that you lose to Utah. At that point, you still have an incredibly strong case because
Yes.
I don't think that they'd get blown out by Utah. I think you probably lose that game by 10 points, maybe. If all things are square,
If
and you're
everybody's healthy,
Yeah.
Utah's a better football team.
Yeah,
Just
so,
because that defense is just nails. But I'm telling you, I know I'm the only one, and I routinely get ass beat in the comment section for this. I believe Kansas is better than K-State. And I think that when you look at that, they're going to play at Arrowhead and they're going to have environment, they're going to have fan base, and there are a few more rabid fan bases than KU. I love Kansas fans. Everybody thinks that they're just this little old basketball school with Bill Self, and I'm warning you right now, that's a football program.
And I think that the only problem, the only volatility in their football program right now is lack of depth, injury wise. That we saw that play out last year at the quarterback position. Your starter gets hurt, and your backup isn't terrible, but I just think the team was different. Watching them, it was clear that, hey, you were essentially just trying to get by last year. And I think that if you
100%,
if you want to
100%.
take a run at the college football playoff, like you're gonna have to stay healthy. And really for Kansas specifically, I think you're gonna have to run the ball because
Jalen Daniels has to stay healthy.
Like he got hurt, he got hurt because he was running too much last year. Not to say that he was that guy that was trying to run for first downs constantly, but I felt like last year he was just on the run a lot. He was forced out of the pocket a lot, and he had exposure. There's no question about it. He had exposure. He got hit a lot. Like, things happen. So, when you look at the graph and you start to say, okay, well, hey, the Big 12's got a couple of teams here. We know what to expect out of Oklahoma State. I think it's a massive question mark in Tucson as to what Arizona is going to be. A lot of people think they're going to be good. There are some people who think they're going to be trash. I tend to believe that they're going to be fine.
How are they?
But
I don't think they're going to be trash. But I'm one of the people. I don't get the Arizona hype.
Yeah, well, I just don't understand how people think that they're going to be.
I don't get it.
Well, 2 weeks ago there was that ranking, the preseason Big 12 ranking or whatever,
Yes.
talking about how Arizona, I think, was like a top 4 team or whatever. And I don't understand how there are people out here, looking at Arizona that way when you've got a change at head coach. Obviously, you were able to keep your quarterback and keep some talent.
The Fighting Fafitas.
Yeah, but you lost a good bit of talent, so it's like, I don't know, man. I would agree that Arizona's style of play, high-flying offense, push it down the field type of offense, I would agree that caters well in the Big 12, especially when you think about the Big 12 being a conference that is a little bit more physical, running the ball more. So if you can come out here and get good protection and push the ball down the field, you're going to be in a good spot. But I don't think they're good enough to go out and somehow be in the conference championship hunt, halfway through the season. I just would be surprised.
I don't know how you have Arizona so high up when I just don't think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. I mean, that was probably their Achilles heel last year. I mean, Jonah Coleman leaving is a huge loss for them. Obviously, he went to Washington with Jed, but I mean, you can't tell me that Conley's coming in and he's going to be 1,000-yard rusher when he only ran for 840 last year at San Jose State. I just feel like Arizona is going to be. Is Arizona going to be trash? No. Are they Garbo? No. Are they amazing and competing for the conference? They're not.
I think they're that team this year that's good enough to beat you, but you would expect to come out of Tucson with a victory. Like, if you don't play a good game, like if you go to their place, you turn the football over, you give them extra chances, you do the things you're not supposed to do as a football team, they're going to beat you. They are. They're good enough in that way to beat you.
I think they're going to be able to defend. I mean, they kept a lot of their top defensive talent, but it's going to be offensive. You're going to have somebody break out and surprise you. And I think Arizona is good. They're not great.
Yeah,
they're middle of the Big 12.
So you look at the AP preseason poll, and the fact that Arizona is on this graphic is wild to me, because
that they're 21st on this graphic.
Utah, obviously, Oklahoma State, obviously, I'm not sure that I agree with the K-State and Kansas positions. I think those two should be flipped. But Arizona being there is surprising.
Go cover MLS AP writer.
Yeah.
In this, I think that's a lot, but the game has changed now. I understand that you have, hey, I cover the MLS in Minnesota, and I'm gonna have a vote in the AP poll. There's a lot of that in the AP poll. Here's where the rubber meets the road, though. When you look at this right here, and you particularly third row down, that you have LSU at 13 is a huge bump for the SEC, and Tennessee at 15. That Oklahoma is 16th. What has Oklahoma done to justify being top 25 right now? That's wild to me with the turnover that he had on that roster. That Oak State is 17th and Utah is 12th.
Well, and you look at USC there down at the bottom, which is another interesting piece of this poll. I think that, so a lot of people want to make a big to-do about the fact that the SEC has 9 teams on this graph. And, obviously the Big Ten's got some nice representation
But
here.
how many people got first place votes in this poll? Am I the only one who noticed this? Because I don't feel like anybody's talking about this. 3. Georgia, the Bucks, and the Ducks.
Yeah.
And the Ducks only got 1.
Yeah.
What happened to, by Iowa at 25, you guys? Can we just be honest, please? And can we be honest? Their offense already looks like shit. And they haven't even played a game. Iowa State is going to... God, Matt Campbell, I'm begging you to be good this year. I seriously, I'll get Oak State James to go Preston Stone on you. If you... Please, I'm just begging you to win. And the word Ferentz should be banned in Iowa City. Because that offense is going to be junk.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Anyway, you look at the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is a clear winner in the AP poll. And I know. And I'll go back to the coaches poll. Look at the coaches poll. And you look at Michigan at 8. You look at Michigan at 9. Okay. Florida State 10. LSU 12. They're 13th in the AP poll. They're not very different. But I think the subtleties of having Penn State at 8, Michigan at 9, Bucks and Ducks 2 and 3, you start looking at, USC, who ain't nobody caring about, at 23. Go ahead and write off Lincoln. Go ahead. Write off Lincoln, Jake. Talk about how crappy of a coach and he's terrible and they're going to be Garbo and
Because it's garbage.
Reggie Bush ain't walking through that door anytime soon. Totally get it. Marcus Allen murdered Al Davis. Totally
Reggie
get it.
might not be walking back
Totally
with his
get it.
award, but Ohio State's walking through the A gap. Just saying.
OJ's innocent. USC football. Fight on. I totally get it. I'm here for all of the USC hype. You guys just remember, good old fat ass Marty told you. Right off Lincoln Riley at your own peril.
The ink isn't dry yet.
Because you're going to look at a lot of these teams, and they are going to surprise.
Okay, let's do it one more time. Pull up the schedule. One more time. I'm here for it today. One more time. Come on, do it for me.
Why would I do anything for you?
Well,
I don't really get it.
yeah, it's a fair point. It's a really fair
You want to
point.
pull up USC's schedule?
Just one more time.
Why? We have done this
Because
1,000
I
fucking
actually
times.
think that SC in the poll
Actually, SC
is one of the teams
listen,
that
if they
could
had
be the
Pete
biggest
Carroll,
mover.
If they had Pete Carroll and they still had that agreement with Bazooka Bubblegum, I mean, we could talk about USC winning games.
Y'all reading all this cap ass shit.
But Marty, let's be honest. It's Lincoln Riley. He doesn't win games, and he's a terrible coach. Just ask any Sooner fan.
Hold on, bro.
Yeah. Hopefully it's later than sooner that Lincoln Riley wins a game. I hate this conversation so much. LSU.
I think there's a chance they win that game. Actually, that's the one in Vegas, right? Isn't that in Vegas at Allegiant?
I think there's a chance they win that game.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Jake, and I wish you would get it right. It is the Modelo Vegas kickoff classic.
Hell no.
Utah State
Dub.
at Michigan.
Dub.
Wisconsin.
Dub.
Do you guys see what I go through every day?
You do have this knack
Every
for
day.
just annoying the living hell out of me.
Every day. I come into the studio.
Oh, okay.
Freshly showered.
That's different.
Yeah, did you see the new research? The more the more prolific of a seed spreader you are, the less chance of the big C word coming through.
Bro.
So you shut your mouth. Anyway, but my point is, I show up at this studio every day and I just get piped
Anita, Dick, and Ming.
every day by this guy. Every day. Huh? Lincoln Riley doesn't put guys in the NFL. Well, he's got Caleb Williams with the Chicago Bears. Well, one off doesn't matter. Well, he also has
bad.
LSU is a loss for LSU. Utah State at Michigan, who I think is going to be out of the AP top 25.
No, seriously, when's their first loss? Seriously. Because I think they're going to beat LSU. When is their first legitimate chance to lose?
We're going down the schedule.
I know. I'm asking
That's
you.
what we do. I think the Fighting Pedos from Penn State offer a very difficult challenge, although it's in Los Angeles. I think that Maryland game is very perilous. I think you have to
So you think
you
it's
go
like a trap game kind of?
You go from Penn State in Los Angeles to Maryland at Maryland a week later. I think that's a very difficult flip. And then you turn right back around and play Rutgers at the Coliseum. There's a loss in there that will make Jake very happy. It's a Lincoln Riley game. I think that Maryland game is very much a danger game after Penn State. And I think their real difficult games on this schedule are, let's see what Michigan is. Well, we know what they are. They're cheaters. I think the Penn State game, I think the Washington game in Seattle.
Yeah.
And I think the
Notre Dame, of course.
but that game's in LA. And I'm telling you, and I'm not even being a bitter ass Notre Dame fan. I am telling you now that Notre Dame is going to fall flat on their face. And I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. But as sure as I am sitting here, Marcus Freeman is not a premier coach in this country. And Marcus Freeman, everybody's talking about how Notre Dame's a lock and they're getting in. I'm telling you, Notre Dame's not going to the college football playoff this year. I'm not flying the fucking flag. It's not happening. It's staying in the closet.
Are you buying Caleb Williams jersey for this
much
year?
like Jake, it's staying in the closet.
Right.
That flag for Notre Dame's not coming out because neither is Jake. And I'm just telling you now that Notre Dame is going to be a huge disappointment. There's just, I don't know how they avoid that.
And it sucks.
I don't know how they avoid that. Like, you really think they're beating Mike Elko and Texas A&M with Elko's former quarterback? Riley Leonard, the former quarterback at Duke under Mike Elko, is the starting quarterback for the Beloved, and you think they're gonna beat Texas A&M?
That's right.
Come on, guy. Bro, I've seen this movie before. I trust me. I've seen Rudy. Notre Dame on the field in 2024 is worse than the script for Rudy. It's that bad. I just, you're not going to Texas A&M and winning. Notre Dame
don't always have to be negative.
Well, it's Notre Dame football. You're not beating Florida State. You have one of the easiest schedules in the country. All you have to do is get up every day and make your bed during the season. That's it. And you should be in the college football playoff. You're not beating Florida State. You're not beating Texas A&M. You're not. You can't tell me you're going to Los Angeles and beating USC. All things being equal. You're not. USC is going to have an elite defense. Your quarterback's going to be injured by the time the second quarter starts in week 1.
I love how you're more sure
Fucking
that
assholes.
Notre Dame is or that USC is going to have an elite defense than Notre Dame going to the college football playoff.
I don't know how Notre Dame okay, wait. I don't know how USC's defense is not elite with the talent and the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley, supposedly, according to people I've spoken to,
Allegedly.
is hands off on the defense, which is what he should have been for 10 years now. I think, now granted, he's only 27 years old, but my point is, as much football as Lincoln Riley has coached, it seems like it's finally gotten through. And that defense, I don't know how they're not one of the top defenses in the Big Ten. Honest to goodness, I think USC is going to be a top 3 defense in the Big Ten. I have that much faith in that staff and that talent. And I think the Big Ten's getting 4 teams in, and I think the SEC's getting 8 teams in. I think they're each getting a healthy share in it. And I don't think USC is a college football playoff team. I don't think their offense is ready for that. They're going to be markedly better this year than they were last year. And Notre Dame is not a college football playoff team. And you're going to be like, oh, Marty, just trying to get clicks. Call it what you want. I'm telling you now that Notre Dame is not elite. And I'm tired of hearing it. As a Notre Dame fan, it breaks my heart that Marcus Freeman thinks he's good enough to be the head football coach at Notre Dame. And I hope to God that I am wrong. I hope to God that I am wrong.
God bless.
No, I don't feel better. Sean Rollins, a new member of the Monty Show.
Go, Sean.
Sean, appreciate that. We do offer membership, but you do have to hit the like button. That's the first thing that has to happen. 500 views and 28 likes. Come on, let's go. Hit the like button. Do you think, how many teams does the ACC get in? In the comment section, let's do it. How many teams does the ACC get in? I think they get 1 in, and I think it's Florida State. And if Florida State, and I think there's a chance, but if Florida State goes to the ACC championship game undefeated, they could get 2 in. Only if Florida State loses the ACC championship. That, you know.
Yeah.
Well, Sumbry, this is a really good question because I think this is, comment dump. K. Sumbry, how far would Georgia drop if they took a loss to Clemson? 2 spots? 3 spots?
Maybe.
Can you see it? And this, I think this is fascinating because if Clemson loses to Georgia, all right, we'll see you next year. Right? Like I think it's going to be very difficult for them to get into the college football playoff. If Georgia loses to Clemson, Georgia's schedule is, I think, stocked well enough. Is that the right? It's difficult enough. They have get-back opportunities. Obviously, you're in the SEC. Clemson, Tennessee Tech, at Kentucky, at number 5, Alabama.
Right.
Auburn, Mississippi State, at Texas.
Loads of chances to
Let's
get back.
say that you lose the Clemson game and you go undefeated the rest of the way. They're in the college football playoff.
Yeah. Favored to win a national championship.
You would have won at Alabama. You would have won at Texas. You would have won at Ole Miss. And you would have beaten Tennessee. That's the difference between the ACC and the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting kicked in the groin every single week in this conference. Because, again, if you look at Ole Miss and you look at what Lane Train and his hot-ass girlfriend are doing, I'm telling you, he's getting into the college football playoff because he doesn't have the landmines on his schedule. He's got 1, and he has it at home. And that'd be Georgia. And that game's November 9th.
Riding on that game for you, bud.
A ton. But LSU's not as good as they were last year, this year. So obviously he's got to go to LSU. But here's Ole Miss's schedule. Furman, MTS, Middle Tennessee State. At Wake, that's on the CW. Make sure you tune in. Georgia Southern, Kentucky. So at that point,
Great. So you haven't played
you're 5-0
until
And you might not have given up a touchdown yet. You're 5-0. South Carolina. And I think South Carolina will be better, but you're 6-0. At LSU is your first real game. That game is October 12th. Bye week at home for Oklahoma, at Arkansas, home for Georgia, at Florida, home for Mississippi State. That's a college football playoff schedule. A couple big games, some prove-it games that'll impress people enough.
Right.
MLS soccer writer that happens to have an AP vote. He likes Lane Kiffin. Lane's in the media. That's a college football playoff schedule.
Yep.
So somebody to wonder, I think they can, Georgia can get back. Georgia can get back. They've got quality games. RX says 2 for the ACC. You think they get 2 in? Dade says 2. You guys really think they get 2 in? How do they get 2 in?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to have 2 one-loss teams. That's how. You'd have to have Clemson actually showing up.
Derek says 1. Scott of Graywater says 2. Florida State and the U. See, a lot of people are with you. A lot of people are with you on the U. And they've got, but again,
they got to prove it, bro. That you got to show me you're that good.
So if we look at the Canes and we say, okay, what is their path to the college football playoff look like? 19th in the country. At Florida, come on, that should be a win. If you're a college football team and you start the season at the swamp with a loss, fuck off. Like, just, okay, goodbye. Like that, and I'm serious. They're already, and I don't know that you care about this, and you probably don't even, there's so many hurdles for them just to make it to the field with budget and politics and culture. It is a disaster in Miami. I'm not even joking or using hyperbole. The University of Miami is in the hotbed of dysfunction. So just for them to have practice uniforms is a pretty good accomplishment. You go to the swamp and lose, and I don't ever want to hear from you again. Florida A&M, Ball State, at South Florida. First game where you're like, okay. But you don't have the humidity to help you against Miami because Miami, that's a win. Virginia Tech. Now, Virginia Tech's interesting because a lot of people think Virginia Tech's way better this year. If you're a college football playoff team, you're beating Virginia Tech. And at that point, you're 5-0. At Cal. That's the first game where you're like, well, we got to get on an airplane and we got to fly across the country, Monty. 6-0. At Louisville, 7-0.
No, they're losing that game. I'm telling you, they're losing that game. That's the one. What did Louisville do last year? Think about it.
Nothing compared to the talent that Miami has.
Yeah.
And Mario Cristobal, while he probably doesn't want to hear about Reser Stadium or big games,
or the fact that he hasn't done much in Miami,
he's going to beat Louisville. I think he loses to Florida State. And now this is where the rubber meets the road. Let's say that you are 7-0 with Florida State coming to Miami. If you win that game, you're in the ACC championship game. If you lose that game, are all hopes of going to the college football playoff over?
Pretty much, yeah. I don't think
they
you
are.
can get back.
Because you've only got Georgia Tech, who's better. Georgia Tech football is going to have, I think, a bowl-worthy season. Wake Forest at Syracuse. By the way, Syracuse fan melting down in the comments section because I said that they don't have the financial wherewithal to play in a super league. They don't have the You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars.
Cashless.
Well, they just redid the Carrier Dome, Monty.
Well, in Monty, they've got like 100,000 wins over the last 40 years, man. I mean, come on.
They don't have the financial wherewithal to compete at that level.
Vexes me. Terribly vexed.
If you beat Florida State, you're in. If you lose to Florida State, you're out.
Simple.
Mid-12 gets Utah in, that's it.
Oh, Big 12 hater. Okay.
Case summary, 1 to 2 teams for the ACC. T. Lawrence says 2 teams. Oak State James, stadium guy and lover of Preston Stone's phallic member.
Stay hard.
SEC 4, Big 10 3. Big 10 only gets 3 in. Okay. Big 12 gets 2, ACC gets 2. I think you're getting 1, and that is Miami's interesting. I think that's a really good point. I don't see how Clemson has a path. Not with Dabo there. Not with that.
How
whole
long can
thing.
he hold on to that job? Like, how long, if you're Clemson, are you going to put up with that?
If he looks wildly untalented again this year, I think that he's going to start hearing about it. But you put massive forehead in the NFL and he's actually a competent quarterback. That's great. But I think the biggest damnation of Jesus incarnate at Clemson is that he is not a guy that's willing to pay players and use the portal at a prolific level. And I think that is a very big indictment.
We built this program on NIL.
It makes it tough. Bo says 1 to 2. T. Lawrence says Big 12 only getting 1 in. Okay. Who do we think is the best team in the Big 12? I'm pretty confident that it is Utah.
Yeah, and I think to pad that, I think, actually having a competent backup this year for Utah at quarterback is an improvement.
I think it's Utah. I think Kansas. I know. I'll just keep saying it.
Marty, you really like your Kansas.
I think Kansas is the second best team. I think K-State's third. I think Oak State's fourth. And I'm very curious to see
X factors are Tech and
Texas Tech, Iowa State.
Iowa State, certainly.
I think UCF is going to break balls. I think they're always tough to compete. Gus Malzahn.
Oh, what did West Virginia, what they have? 9 wins last year, right?
Yeah, but they're going to win at home. I don't think that at some point somebody's going to figure out how to contain their run game. I think West Virginia, Penn State, Albany, at Pitt, Kansas, at Oak State, Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona, at Cincinnati, Baylor, UCF, at Tech. They have a very difficult schedule. I think that's the team that could just absolutely be a wrecking ball for hopes and dreams, or they're a team that doesn't go to a bowl game.
Right.
Because they have an incredibly difficult schedule.
Yeah.
I mean, your road games are at Pitt, at Oak State, at Arizona, at Cincinnati, and at Tech. That's really difficult. That is a difficult schedule. And I mean, I just look at the rest of the conference. BYU's not ready, and I swear to God, if I hear one more BYU fan, Bohannon's the guy.
I just love the contrast between Utah and BYU on this stuff. Utah knows who their starter is, knows who the backup is ready to go. And what do I get yesterday? Might have been the day before. No, it would have been yesterday. Today's only Tuesday. What do I get yesterday at BYU practice? Aaron Roderick going on the mic at press availability saying, well, guys, you know what? I actually don't feel the need to choose a starter because the team's going to decide for me. So when the team's ready to decide who's going to be the starter, we'll know who the starter is, which I couldn't disagree with more. I do not subscribe to the idea that you just let these two guys play it out for as long as possible and we'll just see who's the better guy. Like, Retzloff has been here, bro. Like, Retzloff was the guy that, went through all the crap last year, filling in. He puts in all the work. He's ready to go. And what do I get out of the BYU media video people? Bohannon bombs and, Jerry. He's the best. Oh, my God. First day of fall camp. Jerry's throwing bombs. And Retzloff has been out here doing that, bro. Like, Retzloff has looked good. Retzloff has shown he's ready. So I just disagree with how, the coaching staff is going about this QB battle. And I think that The only reason that Bohannon is even in the conversation is because of his age and where he's at in his college career, and the fact that everyone wants to sell this guy as like some, incredibly impactful transfer, and that's why he should have a look at this starting job. When the reality is that you don't need a guy to come in here for 1 year.
No, you do not.
You need someone to be in here for at least 2 seasons, and you need to have control at that position, which Bohannon can't give you.
Yeah, and I'm telling you now that Kalani is nothing if not loyal. And I think that when you have worked as hard as Jake Retzloff has worked, and you have looked as good as Jake Retzloff has looked, and you have the chemistry and you have the time spent with that locker room, it's Jake Retzloff's job to lose, and he has done nothing to lose that job. And I think when you look at the grand scheme of things, the Big 12, you look at where BYU is, it's a critical season for BYU. Because you are laying the foundation now with a lot of new talent, a lot of new leadership, year 2 of a really good coaching staff. Jay Hill's defense, I expect the BYU defense to be significantly better. Jake Retzloff is the obvious and only guy to be the starting quarterback at BYU. It's not necessarily all about this year. You've got to go to a bowl game this year. But for BYU, it's about building forward, momentum going forward.
Yeah.
And I don't see any other outcome here. I will be exceptionally disappointed because we haven't seen enough we have not seen enough of either guy to indict either guy. I think they're both having good camps from what I've heard and what I've read. I am not convinced, nor am I sold, that Bohannon has done enough to unseat Jake Retzloff. I just don't see that. And in my opinion, going forward, BYU is a critical piece of the Big 12 football puzzle. And you need to build that momentum. And I think Jake Retzloff is that guy. I do. And if they don't go to a bowl, I think Kalani Sitake is very much on a hot seat going into next season. There is no more room for disappointment or questions about quarterback.
Underachieving.
If you're Kalani Sitake, you need Jake Retzloff to be a really good quarterback for you. For this year, for next year, like you need him to achieve. Bohannon's a 1-year option. That's it. And that's not what this club needs. I'm telling you, it's not what this club needs at all in any way, shape, or form.